The New York Mets are in freefall. What began as a season brimming with hope and high expectations has spiraled into a nightmare that few could have predicted. The energy that once filled Citi Field has been replaced by a heavy sense of dread, as fans and players alike watch the team's fortunes unravel before their eyes. A season once full of promise has unraveled into a daily search for new ways to lose. Each game brings fresh heartbreak, whether it's a walk-off defeat, a blown save, or a costly error at the worst possible moment. The Mets, who once looked like contenders, now seem to be inventing new ways to let victory slip away. As of August 19, 2025, the Mets are 66-58, having lost 13 of their last 15 games. The numbers are staggering, but the pain goes beyond the box score. Each loss chips away at the team's confidence, and the clubhouse grows quieter with every passing day. Their wild-card lead has shrunk to just half a game over the surging Reds, and catching the Phillies in the NL East seems impossible. The standings, once a source of pride, now serve as a daily reminder of how far the Mets have fallen. Every night, fans anxiously check the scoreboard, hoping for a miracle that never comes. Since June, the Mets have played at a 103-loss pace, with blown leads and late-inning collapses becoming routine. The bullpen, once a strength, has become a revolving door of disappointment. No lead feels safe and no deficit seems surmountable. The team's confidence has evaporated, replaced by dread and frustration. Manager Carlos Mendoza searches for answers, but solutions are hard to come by. The players, once united by belief, now seem weighed down by the pressure and the relentless scrutiny. Offense sputters, defense falters, and the pitching staff has become a liability. The lineup, which once produced clutch hits, now struggles to string together rallies. Routine plays in the field turn into costly mistakes, and the starting rotation can't seem to find its rhythm. The atmosphere at Citi Field is toxic, with fans booing and every move scrutinized. Social media is ablaze with criticism, and the pressure mounts with every passing loss. The home crowd, desperate for something to cheer, has turned restless and unforgiving. The Mets are no longer fighting to win. They're just trying to avoid disaster. Each inning feels like a test of endurance, as the team tries to stem the tide of mistakes and misfortune. The sense of urgency is palpable, but so is the fear of what might come next. This is the harsh reality for the 2025 Mets, a team adrift, desperate for answers as the season slips away. With every game, the window for redemption narrows, and the question lingers: can they find a way to turn things around, or is this the beginning of a long, painful ending? Manager Carlos Mendoza, once the model of composure and calm under pressure, has finally reached his breaking point. For months, he's been the steady hand guiding the New York Mets through rough waters, always shielding his players from criticism and taking the heat himself. But after another disappointing loss, the frustration that's been simmering beneath the surface has erupted for all to see. After months of defending his players, Mendoza made a rare and pointed move. He publicly called out his starting rotation for their lack of consistency and inability to deliver when it matters most. The press conference, which started with the usual pleasantries, quickly turned tense as Mendoza's tone shifted from diplomatic to direct. "It starts with the starting pitching," he said, frustration clear in his voice. His words were sharp, and his message unmistakable. The team's struggles can no longer be sugar-coated or explained away. Mendoza's patience has run out, and he's demanding accountability from the very players he's spent months protecting. His pointed comments, especially about Eights Kodai Senga barely reaching the sixth inning, marked a dramatic shift in his approach. Senga, once seen as the reliable anchor of the rotation, has struggled to go deep into games, and Mendoza made it clear that this is no longer acceptable. The manager's frustration was palpable as he described the need for his starters to step up and carry their weight. Mendoza's public criticism is a risky move, meant to jolt his pitchers into action, but it could also fracture the delicate chemistry of the clubhouse. The tension was evident as players exchanged uneasy glances, unsure of how to respond to their manager's sudden change in demeanor. Some may see it as tough love, while others could interpret it as a loss of faith. The strategy of quiet encouragement and behind-the-scenes support has failed to produce results. Now, Mendoza is out of options. He's chosen to go public, hoping that the shock will spark a turnaround. But it's a gamble, one that could either unite the team or push it further apart. The rotation is officially on notice. Their performance is dragging the team down, and everyone knows it. The pressure is mounting, and the spotlight is now squarely on the pitchers to deliver. Every start, every inning, every pitch will be scrutinized more than ever before. This bold move could define Mendoza's leadership, or signal its unraveling. If the team responds with renewed focus and determination, Mendoza will be hailed as a leader who wasn't afraid to make tough decisions. But if the clubhouse fractures and the losses continue, his tenure could be remembered for this very moment. The era of patient, protective Carlos Mendoza is over. In its place stands a manager who's willing to risk everything to get results, even if it means ruffling feathers and making enemies in the process. He's shown his teeth, and the organization is watching for results. The front office, the fans, and the players themselves are all waiting to see if this new approach will pay off, or if it will backfire spectacularly. The Mets' fate may hinge on how his pitchers respond to this public challenge. Will they rise to the occasion and turn the season around, or will the pressure prove too much? For Carlos Mendoza and the New York Mets, the next few weeks will reveal everything. Mendoza's criticism reflects a harsh reality. The Mets' starting rotation has collapsed. In August, starters have a 6.22 ERA and rarely last 5 innings, forcing the bullpen to cover far too many outs. The team has resorted to AAA call-ups just to fill innings, exposing the lack of depth. Outside of Senga, no starter has emerged as a reliable stopper. Injuries, regression, and underperformance have all played a role. The rotation's failures have put the entire season in jeopardy. Without a dramatic turnaround, the Mets' playoff hopes are fading fast. The foundation is cracked, and the collapse is accelerating. If the rotation started the fire, the bullpen has fanned the flames. Overworked and exhausted, the Mets relievers have become the epicenter of late-game disasters. The bullpen is responsible for 8 of 11 August losses, a pattern of failure, not bad luck. Leads of all sizes have evaporated in the final innings, crushing team morale. Trade acquisition Ryan Helsley, meant to stabilize the bullpen, has struggled badly, symbolizing the team's woes. Even when the offense and starters deliver, the bullpen can't close the door. Every late-inning pitching change is met with anxiety. The relievers are overexposed and underperforming at the worst time. The bullpen isn't just leaking, it's hemorrhaging, draining the Mets' playoff hopes. The path from the 6th inning to the final out is now a minefield. Even ace Kodai Senga hasn't escaped scrutiny this season, as the spotlight grows ever harsher on the Mets' most reliable arm. Once hailed as the team's savior, Senga now finds himself at the center of a debate. Is he the solution, or just another symptom of the team's deeper issues? Senga's raw talent is undeniable. His fastball and signature ghost fork have dazzled fans and confounded hitters. But as manager Carlos Mendoza's frustration grows, it's clear that the expectations for Senga go beyond just flashes of brilliance. The team needs more than highlight reel moments. They need consistency and, above all, length from their ace. In games like the recent loss to Atlanta, Senga pitched well, keeping the Mets in the game with his electric stuff. But once again, he exited before the 7th inning, forcing a shaky bullpen to shoulder the load. The result? Another late-inning collapse, another game slipping away, and more questions about whether Senga can truly anchor the rotation. It's not all on Senga, of course. Too often he's let down by poor run support and a relief corps that can't hold leads. But his high pitch counts, sometimes the result of nibbling at the corners or working deep into counts, mean he rarely pitches into the late innings. That puts extra pressure on a bullpen already stretched to its limits. The Mets desperately need their ace to be a true workhorse, someone who can consistently deliver 7 or 8 strong innings. But injuries, pitch limits, and the grind of a long season have made that a tall order for Senga. Every time he's forced to leave early, the team's vulnerabilities are exposed. Senga isn't the cause of the Mets' collapse, but he's not immune to the team's desperate need for length and leadership. His presence on the mound is reassuring, but it's not always enough to change the outcome when the rest of the roster is faltering. The problems facing the Mets are bigger than any one pitcher. Still, even Senga's best efforts are dissected and debated, as fans and media alike search for answers. The pressure is immense, and every outing feels like a referendum on his ability to carry the team. Senga's inability to consistently pitch deep into games is just one piece of a much larger crisis. The team's struggles with injuries, inconsistent offense, and bullpen meltdowns have all contributed to a season teetering on the brink. He's not the villain in this story, but the Mets' ongoing struggles magnify every shortcoming, no matter how small. Senga's determination is clear, but even his best efforts can't always overcome the team's flaws. In a season spiraling out of control, even the best aren't enough. For the Mets, and for Senga, the challenge is clear. Find a way to rise above adversity or risk being remembered as just another chapter in a season of disappointment. Senga's 2025 season has been defined by injury as much as performance. He missed the first 102 games with a shoulder injury, leaving the rotation thin from the start. His return brought hope. He quickly became the MLB ERA leader and looked like the ace the Mets needed. But a hamstring strain in June derailed his momentum and coincided with the team's collapse. Senga's injuries have forced the Mets to manage his workload carefully, limiting his innings. This pattern isn't new. Durability has been a concern since 2024. The Mets are caught between needing Senga now and keeping him healthy for the future. His season is a story of brilliance interrupted by fragility, leaving everyone wondering what could have been. The Mets' injury woes go far beyond Senga. Key players like catcher Francisco Alvarez have missed time, disrupting both offense and defense. The revolving door of injuries has shattered lineup continuity and team chemistry. The 2025 Mets collapse can't be explained without acknowledging the relentless impact of injuries. Inside the Mets clubhouse, the pressure is palpable. Players like Ryan Helsley have owned up to their failures, feeling the weight of every blown save. "You never want to be that guy, the reason the team loses," Helsley admitted. Meanwhile, veteran Francisco Lindor has tried to rally the team, preaching unity and urgency. "We stay together, we fight for each other," Lindor insists, even as losses mount. The players are saying the right things, but words haven't translated into wins. The sense of urgency is real, but so is the frustration. The clubhouse is tense, filled with professionals desperate to stop the slide. Accountability is present, but execution is missing. The Mets are searching for answers as the season slips away. As August winds down, the Mets cling to a wildcard spot by the thinnest margin. On paper, a turnaround is possible, but the problems are deep and systemic. The rotation is in shambles, the bullpen unreliable, and the offense inconsistent. Confidence is shattered, and the team plays with a sense of dread. Winning now would require a miracle, every part of the team improving at once. The Mets are running out of time and hope is fading fast. They'll keep fighting, but the outlook is bleak. The 2025 season feels like a race against time, and time is almost up.